welcome to Reef Beef. My name is Ben.
My name is Richard.
And today I'm wearing a full bodysuit because we reached 1,500 subscribers.
Woo!
And we're going to be answering a couple Ask Reef Beef questions. And we're going to talk about float glass floating on molten tin. And I'm going to have a beef about shitty behavior on our Facebook page. But this show is brought to you by saltwateraquarium.com, and PolypLab is back. So thank you, PolypLab.
We are powered by PolypLab.
Powered by PolypLab. So welcome to the show. Richard.
Ben.
This is uncomfortable.
Did you cut your own face off and then you put it on like a mask?
I did. It's a dead skin mask.
Why are you could take that off if you wanted to.
I think I'm going to take it off for a little bit.
Yeah.
Oh, dude. The problem is it crushes my nose.
What the people watching or listening don't understand when Ben took off his Hannibal Lecter style face mask of himself was that we've been setting up for this show for the last 40 minutes and there's been a bunch of problems. And Ben has been wearing that thing the whole time. And
needlessly.
I didn't say anything about it because it's really funny.
We're like troubleshooting and my nose feels like it's broken.
Well, it's good to see you with a normal face. Let's see the whole bodysuit because we made a promise that at 1,500 subs, Ben would wear spandex.
I'm pretty tall, so I don't know if I can get all of this into the shot. Look at it. I got me on my thighs. I got me here. I think you're on my butt.
I am on both cheeks.
And I'm wearing the Reef Beef underwear. The Dick Johnson underwear.
Let nobody say that Reef Beef does not fulfill its promises.
Not at all. Look. Reef Beef on here and on the back.
Oh, God. Now when you go snorkeling, you can wear that outfit and be protected from the sun.
Absolutely. I don't think anyone will mess with me because they'll think I'm insane.
You are insane, so it's perfect.
Just as if.
Beefers, thank you for all the support and making this extravaganza happen.
Whatever this is, thank you for making this happen. I'll probably take more pictures and put them on the website too, just because I really want them to get the full deal.
Excellent.
Of my
Excellent. And let's talk about this now. We started because of the beefers and everything that we've come to know and love about them. We've decided to start our own Discord. So we have a Discord discussion about Reef Beef. And I'm really enjoying it so far. It feels good to talk to people who are vetted beefers rather than random people on forums. So the link is probably everywhere by now if we know Snowman. And there's a general discussion and then there's a members discussion. So if you're not a member, you're not seeing the members discussion. So become a member. So there.
Yeah, man, I'm having fun with it too. We already have over 100 people in it. And anyone that's watching this, it's like, man, I don't know anything about Discord. We didn't either when we started it. And it's sort of like an archived discussion with different threads, different rooms. And we're going to be adding a bunch more to it later because there's voice capabilities. You can add photos and video. And trust me, if it feels intimidating, Discord, you don't know anything about it, it's not that complicated. You just download an app and then you get the invite and come in and talk.
What's it called?
The Discord.
Discord.
Yeah. Discord. I said it in my Texas accent.
Discord. Yeah,
Discord.
and I'm all set up for coral spawning, and so I'm giving regular updates to the members area about the coral spawning, and I'll probably figure out a way to live stream it the night of the spawn, which will be either stupid or really interesting, or it could be me yelling fuck, fuck, fuck all night, or at least I'll have the camera on a tripod and then we'll come in and I'll show you some stuff as it's happening.
No, that's insane though. That's insanely awesome.
Yeah, that's why this is closed off.
are you like keeping notes on it like it's a chalkboard?
Exactly. So there's my
Okay.
time. I had to figure out all the timing and when I wanted it to spawn and when I wanted it to happen. So I had to change the time on the apex a bit. And what I'm doing is I'm going to have it the sunset in the tank be about 40 minutes before the actual sunset here. So by the time I'm ready to look to see if spawning is happening, it'll be dark outside already. So I don't have to like cover all my windows with, you know, light-proof shades.
Very cool.
So that's just a bunch of notes to remind me to do things and when things are going to happen.
Oh, yes, yes.
Oh, yes, yes. Oh, yes, yes.
Hey, Ben,
Hey, Richard.
PolypLab is back as a sponsor. We are powered by PolypLab once again.
Awesome.
You tell me something you like from PolypLab, and then I'll tell you something I like from PolypLab.
So from PolypLab, they're the food I use a lot, the Reef. And so I keep a large container in my truck. One of the first things I do when I get to a reef, I take a fat pinch, I put it right into the return pump, and then I get all my stuff ready, and then I do water changes after that. So I sort of flood the system and then clean it up.
You flood feed it and then get all that shit out of there. The thing that Ben really turned me on to is these gluelets from PolypLab. They come, I don't know where my case of them is, but I'll have it next time. It's good for 2 or 3 frags. It's like a really nice size gluelet, and you don't end up screwing a whole big tube and running out of glue. Now, I use the big tubes for other things, but a lot of times this is the right amount of glue to use. So I really kind of dig it. Yeah, PolypLab. It's fun to be powered by PolypLab again. So
Once again, thank you, PolypLab.
go check them out.
Oh, yes, yes.
Oh, yes, yes. Oh, yes, yes.
Hey, Richard, let's do some of these Ask Reef beefs.
Okie doke. Hello, Sir Ross and Sir Johnson. This is Pedro. My current tank is a SPS only, actually just a cropra. I don't recall myself feeding them in the past. Just feeding the fishes multiple times with different foods appeared to be enough. Can you please discuss this topic? It seems to be a big deal today. Does it make sense to feed acros? If so, what should I feed and what should I expect to change in my tank? Any other beef related? Thanks again. I say feed the shit out of your acros.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, you can't just feed your fish. And also, so what would you feed acros? You know, you hear about people feeding Fido, but you know, here's a question I have. Fido is like the bottom of the food chain. It's not necessarily that your SPS are eating Fido, correct?
Yeah, Fido is one of these the new buzzword. Fido does everything. It feeds everything, and it destroys nitrates and phosphates, and it sucks your nuts and or your labia, depending. It's smart enough to know the difference. It's I don't know, but I feed any number of the prepared powdered foods. So you know, like whatever they are. I'm sorry, they're all behind the thing. I can't get to
PolypLab.
PolypLab, the Reefroids, or the Benipet stuff, or you know, any of them. There's one that Reef Bright makes, and I don't usually mix them together because you get different feeding responses from different feeds. Cyclopes as well. Just the juice, you know, from Larry's Reef Frenzy. Even small mysis. Sometimes I put Calanus and other foods in a blender and blend that up and feed it. Reef Nutrition's got a new product. It's a frozen copepod that they were nice enough to send me some, and I've used it all up. I've got to get some more. It's freaking awesome. So yeah, I think things with mouths should get fed. It just makes sense to me. And I know when we're getting corals ready to spawn or to create gametes, we feed the crap out of them. And when baby corals are growing, we feed the crap out of them. So I think feeding is really, really important. I think you can get away without it. But, you know, besides a Venus flytrap, I think if it's got a mouth, you should feed it.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what Rich thinks. Boom!
Boom, baby.
The beef. The beefy
Boom, boom. I'm going to read the next one.
You read it.
This is Pedro, currently living in Belgium, not from Belgium.
So Pedro is from Belgium.
Yeah. So he says, I'm old reefer, which recently came back to the hobby, comparing to early 2000. I believe that lights are one of the main things that changed. Unlike T5s and halides, I saw that you need to be really careful with LEDs. How you two deal with the LED intensity in your tanks. Is the par meter a mandatory instrument? Any beefs? Side remark. I feel very uncomfortable when I see companies selling a 900 euros light and stating that they can't support the buyer regarding any indicative intensity for a customer's tank. Thanks.
He's totally from Belgium.
Yeah. Again, I'm going to sound crazy on this, but, and judge me as you will, but there's so many things that I see people in the hobby doing that I don't know. I just don't follow along with a lot of things that people do. One is obsessing over par values. I generally put a strong light above a reef, strong enough that where I know if anything, I can dial it down, not one that's not strong enough. And, you know, I put it a decent intensity. I honestly, I know some people are so, I don't want to use the word obsessed, but you know, they feel really comfortable in dialing in numbers on certain parts of their reef. I can't get into that. And I mean, and if I can say, I don't have the best tanks out there, but I have good tanks. I just don't find a reason to go around with a par meter that I'm not even sure if it's working correct or not. What do you think, Richard?
I agree with you. I have a par meter. I have a Neptune par meter that goes with the Apex. It's nice to know the lights are on. And I had an Apogee that they sent me, and I just never used it. So I donated it to a local club because they have a lending library of that kind of thing. So I think it's an interesting bit of information, but what are you gonna do? I think, you know, well, first, I want to jump back half a step. And unlike T5s and halides, I see that you need to be really careful with LEDs. You needed to be really careful with halides. You know, back in the 2000s when I was doing halides and double-ended Phoenix 250s, man, you know, I remember putting screens over so I could slowly, you know, change the intensity of the lights so it wouldn't shock everything. It was a pain in the ass.
Remember this too, if you let the halide slip for too long and then you'd replace it, that was always a big juju back in the day.
I hated changing lights more than testing. Now we have better testing, and I hate that way more than lights. So, you know, I did the whole measuring and, you know, put the numbers and everything. And then when I, you know, so you know what the levels are at different areas in the tank. And it's kind of like, okay, you know, what is that? How useful is that? You know, if I get a new coral and I'm worried that it's come from a different kind of lighting, you know, no, I won't even do that. I put the coral where I want to. And if I'm worried it's going to get light shocked, I'll lower the intensity of the lights and bring them up over a couple of weeks. You know, if I change the lights, I do that all, you know, the new corals I got for spawning, I brought them in at 50%. I put actually at 30%, 35%. Sorry, I'm remembering. And I just started raising them up. They're at about 50% now after about 2 weeks. I'm just taking my time with it. So I think it's a bunch of information, but is it actionable? What are you going to do with it? You know, you know, if you drop, so you know that at the top of a tank, it's probably around 500. Sometimes it's nice to get a par meter and you can see what the spread of your tank actually is. And having your hands on it and playing with it is totally worth it to get a feel for what's going on. Once you get the feel for what's going on, you know, I know at the sides of my tank, it's less light. And I know at the top in the middle, right under a light, it's more light. So what?
I feel I sometimes feel weird in the hobby nowadays because it seems ever increasingly everyone thinks that numbers are going to quantify everything from testing to lighting and this and that. And maybe I'm a bit of a dinosaur because I feel like it's a bit of just knowledge about what the things are doing and artistry and some mystical bullshit magic that I have a problem conveying to people on you know, how you do this or that. It's just sort of, I mean, I just don't, it's so weird. It's like an artistic approach versus like an engineering approach. And I'm not saying any of this new stuff is bad, but you know, everyone can quantify stuff, and there's, you know, there's par meters and there's this. Just that if you can assign a number to a certain part of your reef, that doesn't mean something's going to be successful right there. This does.
I'll say it's bad. Testing sucks. Our testing sucks. You know, the DR890 that I've been using for a long time, it looks like there's a problem with the nitrate test. So it's probably good for trending, but we don't really know how close to the actual number I've been testing, right? And it's probably, I bought some Hannah checkers. It's probably the same problem with Hannah checkers. But at least I'll be testing the same way other people are testing. So somehow we're having a more useful discussion because we're doing the same thing. But, you know, testing, man, it's so good for ballpark stuff, but for everything else, and specifically with you know, a par meter, you know, then you get into this bullshit with, you know, is it okay with LEDs? Is it not good with LEDs? Is it different with blues? And I just want to fucking stab myself in the neck. It's such a, and then phosphate, is it orthophosphate? Is it O-phosphate? Is it not? Who gives a fuck? So I'm totally with you. And I think we've talked about it before, but who cares? I think reefing is an art and a science. And I think our science isn't robust enough to hang our hat on. Our science is robust enough to give us a feeling for what's going on. So testing, yeah, you should test. You get a feel for what that is and what happens in your tank. You have to learn what it does. There's no recipe. You have to get a feel for everything. It's the same with a par meter. And I think, you know, Mike asks if it's a mandatory instrument. I think it's great for a local club to have that instrument and lend it out, because you will learn stuff by playing around with it. But do you need it? Do you need to obsess over it? I'm feeling more and more like the obsession over numbers is just making things worse for people. It feels like you're doing something good. It feels like you're making something happen, but I think it gives you a false sense of security and very often sends you off in terrible directions. You know, and look, I'm going to interrupt you. You know,
yeah, go.
So sometimes the Trident gives goofy readings for calcium and magnesium, right? But check it out, man. If your calcium has been running at about 440 for the last month, and all of a sudden it jumps to 550, you got to know that that's a testing issue and to go whatever. And also to go whatever. It's fucking calcium. Who gives a shit, right? Whatever. So you have to understand the limits of what you're dealing with and what its actual real world effects are. There's probably nothing going on in your system that has raised the calcium 100 ppm overnight, right? And if you don't know how to figure out if something has happened, you better figure that out. You know, if you're doing two-part, you better go check. If you're doing Kalkwasser, you better go check and see if your reservoir is lower. Did it overdose? And if it didn't, it's just a testing artifact, and it's probably time to change reagents.
Let me speak for the common person, because I think this is what's going on when it comes to, I know we're jumping a little bit here, but the Trident. I think the common person sees that item and says, hey, there is a thing that very accurately shows me exactly what my alkalinity, calcium, and magnesium is. They buy it, and then they don't understand, you know, that that's not what it's supposed to be. There's nothing to my knowledge, that on the planet that just says like, this is constantly what your alkalinity exactly is, to a fine degree. And then they get pissed off and like, well, I bought this thing because I thought it blah, 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 blah,
It's you need to understand what the equipment is, and what its limitations are. When I see people get pissed off at controllers, it's because mostly, number one, they've done something goofy. But number two, like you're saying, they have an unrealistic expectation of what it's going to do for them. It's the same with the checkers. The checkers go to 0.00, right? 2 decimal places. And so people think they're getting resolution to 2 decimal places. Oh my God, you don't care. I did this thing for Coral when I was writing up my system this weekend. And, it says alkalinity, it's a aquarium portrait. And I wrote 8 to 9. And they wrote back and they went, really, just 8 to 9? I'm like, yeah, because I don't care. 8 to 9, I don't give a shit. The 20-year-old system, I don't care. And that's hard for people now to wrap their heads around. And it's the same thing with the, with the PAR readings. You can get trapped in PAR readings. I think it's a good thing to play with and understand, but man, you got to develop your blue thumb. You need your saltwater thumb. You need to have a feel for what's going on. I'm watching I lost a coral last week and it ran, with RTN. And I looked at my salinity readings on the apex, and then I double checked them with the refractometer. They were pretty close. It's like, okay, so that's one of the things I'll sleuth if there's a problem. I really want to double check my salinity. And I have like 3 or 4 salinity probes in my system. But then I kind of watched and it was just the one coral that ran. Probably it was getting stung by something. And now I don't care anymore. That happens. Simon Garrett and I made friends at the IMAX show on the Queen Mary a million years ago. Because in my talk, I said something about if you've got one coral that's going down and you've got 50 other corals in your tank or 100 other corals in your tank, and you start fucking with everything, you're an idiot. Because you've got, if you got 100 corals and you've got 99 are doing fine and one goes bad, and you start fucking with your parameters, you're fucking all the good stuff. Pull that coral, isolate it, do something to that one coral, leave everything else alone. Oh my
I've been saying for a long time, that's how I help people troubleshoot. But one of the first questions I ask is this one coral or is this your whole tank?
Yeah.
And so to me, that's 2 very different pathways you take off of that. It's your whole tank, man. We got to figure out what's going on. It's right. One coral. You win some, you lose some. Of course, do your due diligence, look at stuff. But again, man, that's so cool that you said that. I don't know that you and I had ever talked about that specifically before, because that's been near and dear to me for a long time now. You got one coral freaking out, don't change everything. You're gonna cause stress to the rest of your corals by tweaking stuff.
Right. And like we've been talking about lately, and I've been thinking about lately, we work so hard for stability. And then we fuck it up by adding a bunch of shit to take care of algae. You're crazy. So yeah. I see one coral. Tell me if I've left anything off. I saw one coral going down. So double check salinity, double check alkalinity, check the flow, check that the lights aren't staying on all night, see if anything nearby might be stinging it, which is what I think was going on.
Usually what it,
magnesium. Then I start going, I don't go pH, right? And then if a day goes by and I don't see anything else reacting the same way, I stop caring.
Move on. Yeah, move on.
So you got to develop the thumb. You got to figure it out. It's all, I think all testing is a way for you, is exercise for your reefing muscles. And once you're in shape, reefing keeps you in shape. Well, I like analogies, but maybe that one's stupid. Because I'm always looking and thinking and, about stuff. So
that was Pedro, and we sort of didn't address that last part. I don't quite understand. I sort of understand what he's saying there. Cyber marks, I feel very uncomfortable when I see companies selling an inexpensive light and saying that they can't suggest support the buyer regarding any indicative intensity. Like they sell an expensive light, but they can't tell you an intensity for your tank. But I mean, Pedro, like
It's Mike.
that's no, Mike's below that.
Oh, it is Pedro,
Yeah.
from Belgium. He's Belgian.
But Pedro, I understand the hesitancy in a manufacturer trying to give you advice like that, because it's hard to give advice like that. It's hard to tell you this is, biology and quantum physics. It's tricky for them to get. They could give you friendly advice, but I think when you're asking advice from a company on the phone and they tell you something certain and then it turns out to not be the case and then you're mad at them, like that's not a good move as a business.
There's no right answer. There's a million ways to run a reef and they all fucking work. There's a million ways to set up your light and they can all fucking work depending on everything else. So they can't, that's like DeWalt telling you, how far to screw in a screw for you holding up a picture. I mean,
or if it's like a building code, you're wondering your building codes and they're like, they don't want to tell you something because they don't want to tell you something wrong.
Well, it just depends on your application.
Yeah.
And you're custom building the rest of your application, right? The light's just one part of it. When I was learning to blow glass, actually, this might be a good comparison to all the glass blowers who I know are listening. It was like the heat is very important in glass, right? So, and you can work glass for a certain amount of time depending on how hot it is, right? Or you get it hot enough to be able to affect it the way you want it to. And I asked the guy I was learning from, the guy who taught me a lot about glass, Joe Cariotti. By the way, there's a Joe Cariotti at Neptune, different guy. I said, how hot do you want it? And he went, the right heat. And that's exactly what you and I have just been talking about. How much light do you want? The right amount of light. How do you know? Fucking experience.
Yeah. Exactly.
Maybe that's the name of the show. Fucking experience.
Fucking experience. Get some experience or whatever.
So,
all right.
So Pedro, I know it's frustrating. There are no recipes. There are only really broad guidelines and rules of thumb, right? So how much intensity do you want? Between 100 and 600. It's really not a helpful thing to say, but that's the actual answer.
The right intensity.
The right intensity.
Yeah. All right. Mike Hoppa. This will be a quick, fast, easy one. How effective has F-Aptasia been on your Mahanos? I have noticed a few in my reef and am contemplating giving it a try. Of course, yes.
Fucking effective. That's how effective it's been.
Very effective. Now, the only problem I have is when a Mahano or Aptasia is coming out vertically from something. But hey, that's been the problem with any of these zappers like this. It's a little tricky to stack it up on them when they're oriented that way.
You know what else you could do with Mahanos that are oriented like that? If there's only a few, get the laser, big laser. But you can also get yourself a dental pick and go in and piss the Aptasia, the Mahano off so it gets real small, right? And then get the dental pick and get under the foot, peel it off most of the way, stab it through the middle, hook it, and then pull it out and throw it away.
Yeah. Now, beefers, don't do that to an Aptasia.
No, do not do that to an Aptasia.
But Mahanos, most definitely. I found that out myself with the dental picks. Must have been about 5 years ago. I just got some dental picks and I was screwing with a Mahano. And I was, if you're lucky, if they didn't bury their feet too deep, Mahanos are weird because if you, like he just said, if you stab them through like the oral disc and go right down the middle, a lot of times they'll let go with their feet and you could pull it out physically.
You've got to piss them off first. Get them to contract. They are a much more muscular animal than an Aptasia, which is really ephemeral. So once it gets really contracted, it's tough. It's strong. And you can get under it and hook it and peel it right off. And it will stay together as you peel it.
Yeah.
Yeah. But F Aptasia works. That's why it's called F Aptasia. It should really be called F Mahano.
Yeah.
No, it should be called F everything.
Yeah, in my experience, it F'd some Palithoas real hardcore.
F Palithoa.
Oh, yes, yes.
Oh, yes, yes. Oh, yes, yes.
Hey, Ben,
Hey, Richard.
where can I get saltwater aquarium products touched by someone's grandpa?
You can find that at saltwateraquarium.com. Now, Richard, I talked about it last episode, but I want to hit it again, that they are now open for wholesale accounts. So wholesale accounts, so service providers like me or stores, or, you know, you may have your main supplier that you get from, but saltwateraquarium.com, they bring in a bunch of different stuff that your main supplier might not bring in. So definitely set up an account with them and check them out. I recently got 4 Gen 6 Ecotech Radions.
For $1.
And, for $1. No, I got that, and I got some max spec gyro pumps and a 90-inch hanging bar for the Radions. But saltwateraquarium.com's been with us damn near since the beginning, and one of the reasons why you listen to us. So, but what I love to see is when you order from them, whether it's true or not, just write in the comments section, say, I wouldn't even order from you guys if it wasn't for Reef Beef. Just let them know the power of Reef Beef.
And without Reef Beef, I would shop somewhere else.
Yes. But hey, and beefers, be sure to use our URL that we have to go to saltwateraquarium.com through our link.
Yeah, they're very cool. Well, I've been using them forever. You know, and they have a lot of stuff, and they're the right size company, and you know, the stuff ships like the same day, and it comes a couple days later, and they've got an app which makes things easy to order, and they've got all kinds of. If you've got questions, you can text them, and they'll answer you. That's kind of fun. So saltwateraquarium.com, check them out, buy some stuff if you need it. It's where I get my F Aptasia.
Oh yes, yes.
Oh, yes, yes. Oh, yes, yes.
So Richard,
Yeah.
so we went to Macna several weeks back, and one of the things that I got from there that sort of blew my mind the most, it came from several different people, but it was, so when they make glass, there's like a bed of molten tin, and
When they make plate glass.
Plate glass.
There's a couple ways to do it, but we're talking about sheets of glass, and this is called float glass. It's a specific way to do it.
So there's a molten bed of tin, and you pour molten glass onto that, and then that glass coalesces, and it's smooth on the tin side, and it's like a conveyor. It keeps moving, and then it cools enough to where they can break it and pull it off of the tin.
The real exciting thing about float glass is both sides of the glass are really, 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 really flat. So the cooling is a thing that happens with all glass processes, but float glass allows you to get both sides super flat. That's what's really cool about it. So the bottom floats on the tin and it stays warm, which is nice. And then the whole top of it just goes level by itself, right? And it doesn't stick to the tin, and it moves along on a conveyor. It gets pulled along, and then as it gets cooled, it gets scored and cut up and then annealed.
And so then there were several people talking about, especially the thicker pieces of glass where it might sit on the tin longer, it does absorb a little bit of the tin on that side. Now I do know that, so there's that profession called glazers, the people that do glass in buildings, and it's something about like their 3M or whoever they use, their tint and all that. You have to know what side is the tin side and what side isn't. And now I can't remember for a glazer, like what, do you need to, like, does the film not stick well on the tin side or whatever it is, but they need to know it. So all this sounded super anecdotal and weird to me. So a buddy of mine, who I'm not going to put their name on here because I didn't get their permission to, but he contacted Jerry Acuf from Planet Aquariums and was asking him the same question. And Jerry sent this long reply to it. And I asked his permission, hey, can I talk about this publicly in your name? And he's like, yeah, it's fine. And so he said, yes, it is a consideration. Now, he wasn't making a comment to what happens if a company accidentally puts the tin side in on an aquarium. That's not his forte. But his forte is, the packages come in and it's just known, like either the tin side is up or the tin side is down, and they have some sort of UV light that shows them what's the tin side. So when they put together an aquarium, they are trying to have the tin side out and not in, and now I'm getting back into anecdote. It seems like I've had tanks that get a mysterious haziness, and I'm not talking about mineral deposits. I'm talking about a weird patchy haziness on the inside of the glass of like a single sheet or a couple sheets. And it's not anything I've been able to explain. And I'm not saying that is the cause in this case, but it is. And then, so I put that, on the Facebook, and we were all sort of dissecting it. And, and then some people were saying anecdotally, there's been like mysterious levels when they're doing ICP analysis, where some people have high levels of tin and then it comes down, and some people were wondering if it could possibly come off of that. But it's just interesting to note that, a lot of this glass that we use for aquariums is float glass, and that, it should be known that, your aquarium hopefully does not have the tin side in, and it could be an explanation to some haziness that you find. Now, am I presenting this as anything ironclad and concrete? I'm not. This is just anecdotal, but it's something to talk about and think about.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing to know. The tin side can be problematic because how you etch the glass with hydrofluoric acid. And for window cleaners, if you use an acid on the tin side to remove staining, like hard water stains, you can etch the glass because of the tin, right? And on the other side, you won't etch it because there's no tin there. And it's not that much tin, and you can't really see it unless you look at it with, there's a couple of different methods, right? UV light, or there's a scanner that'll do it, or there's the water droplet. A water droplet will behave differently on the tin side or not. And aquarium manufacturers are supposed to put the tin side outside so you don't have a problem with your tank.
It does make you wonder sometimes mistakes could happen, and it makes you wonder sometimes if it was accidentally flip-flopped a certain way. I mean,
yeah.
If that's the case, I would hope that anyone making a custom aquarium for me, takes that into account and doesn't make a mistake in that way.
I'm putting a note to try to ask Felix from Reef Savvy how they approach that.
Yeah.
It is so not hard to check for which side is the tin side. But if I were getting, knowing that it is a thing, if I were getting a custom tank made, I would definitely ask about it, because it's one more question. And, how do they make sure that that doesn't happen? Because, and somebody in our discussion about it said, they had a client and it hazed, and they didn't want to tear it down because it'd be too much of a pain in the ass. So it's really something you don't want to have happen. It's very rare. It's very rare. And it's also very rare that it causes a problem, right? It could happen a lot, but not be problematic.
My tank, one of my tanks here at my house, my frag system, it's a Innovative Marine SR 125. It's like a 125 gallon sort of low boy. But it has some weird patchy haziness on the right side. And again, it's not like a mineral thing, I can tell. And it's just, I don't know how they do it. It seems like someone would get the packages of glass in and run that machine and like take a magic marker and draw an X on the tin side or whatever.
Mistakes happen all the time. I mean, I even heard a story of a guy who's been reefing for like 20 years. And he just by accident put double the amount of GFO in a reactor without thinking about it. Yeah. So shit happens,
I can't, I'm not tossing stones over here.
It was that was a really cool conversation because glass and reefing intersecting is always interesting to me. Not that I work in float glass or anything like that, but I was answering your questions about the annealing process and where the tin actually goes on, which is when it's hot being floated. Once it's off the tin's already there. The tin's not going away from any other or being added from any other process.
Well, it's sort of fun because when I posted it, and it wasn't my thing. It was someone at Magna brought this up. So, I mean, don't attribute this to me, but you know, it's fun because a lot of people I really respect went on that talk and they're like, dude, I don't see anything anymore that like throws me for a loop. And this has totally thrown me for a loop. I never thought about this and didn't know about this. So
yeah. The ICP guys getting involved and going, yeah. Sometimes we see tin early in the life of a tank and then it goes away. That's a pretty interesting observation. I was going to say, if only there was like a central database for the hobby and we could all keep track of shit like this and all get better faster instead of, siloing and taking short steps forward.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, yes, yes.
Oh, yes, yes. Oh, yes, yes.
Ben, Hannibal Lecter Ben.
Yes, sir. I'm Ed Gein.
Ed Gein. Ben, if you were a beefer who appreciated this show and wanted to support us, what would you do?
I would go to Reef Beef Podcast /membership and I would join up at some sort of level. I would check my wallet and see what my wallet was able to bear, and I would jump on in there.
Would you go to reefbeefpodcast.com /membership or reefbeefpodcast /membership?
I'd probably do the .com/membership.
That would probably be better. It would be more effective. And why? Because what do you get for the different levels of membership, Ben?
Oh, thanks for putting me on the spot.
I know. I'm doing this because I know you don't know. You get different shit. I'll help you out. At the bronze level, you get access to buy a membership shirt. You get 10% off on all merchandise. You get access to the members Discord channel. So it's only for $8 a month. You get to the members Discord, which is where we answer most of the questions. We'll be most active and responsive in the members channel. At the silver level, you get a 30% off coupon and you get an ad-free version of the episode if you want that. And that's pretty cool. And at the gold level, you get a phone call with us once a quarter, and you get a free shirt, and you get to be one of the guests on our show, and your name is in the credits. And as a Prime Beef member, you get all kinds of Prime Beef shit. I'll let you go to reefbeefpodcast.com /membership and look at it. So yeah, we dig it, man. It's really helpful. We used to do the buy us a coffee thing, but just be a member. It's way cooler to be part of the community, and we'll answer your questions and we'll track special projects in the members area. What else, Ben? What else do members need to know about you and me and our show?
I don't think members want to know much about me, but looking like this.
Not like that. They want to know about Snowman. We have to have Snowman on the show.
We should. Maybe we need to corner him because I like the idea you had of the voice alteration and then, being you can do those things where you look like a cartoon character or whatever.
If you think we should have Snowman on the show, become a member and let us know.
Yeah.
And besides that, smash like, subscribe on YouTube, and share the crap out of our episodes. Sometimes they have really good content. Sometimes it's just fucking about for a long time, but sometimes we say interesting shit. So share us around. The bigger the reach we have, the bigger our egos get. I don't know.
And the more people I get a kick off of the social media platforms.
Yeah, for being misogynist. Reefbeefpodcast.com /membership.
Oh, yes, yes.
Oh, yes, yes. Oh, yes, yes.
Hey, Richard, I have a beef.
You have a beef?
I do.
What is your beef, Ben?
So I sort of run our Facebook page more or less. And for the first time ever, I had to kick someone off of it. And I felt mixed about it at first.
Kicked him off. You kicked this person off with fucking authority. It was beautiful.
I did.
You didn't ask anything. You went, this is bullshit.
but I didn't say anything to him. It was just a silent later. I didn't say anything to him.
There's nothing to talk about.
Well, okay, so a post I put on there, a show friend of ours, Trucker Tammy, she went and got a pedicure with like reef beef on her toes.
We'll put that picture up right now.
Yeah.
Fucking awesome. It says reef beef on her fucking toes.
Yes. And right off the bat, a guy says, your toes are ugly. And I saw that and I was like, oh, geez. And so then Tammy private messaged me and is like, look at this jerk off. And so I was like, man, I'm gonna go take a shower. So I went and took a shower and I wanted to like.
You were gonna jack off while you thought about toes, or
because of her toes. No, I wanted it to develop. I didn't know what to like. Was I gonna kick this guy off already? And I didn't know anything about him. So I go take a shower and I get out of the shower and I start looking at my phone again. He is saying the nastiest shit on our Facebook page and like cussing her out and saying his argument was so stupid. His argument was, you know, your toes are ugly, yet you put them up there. You're an idiot because you know someone would say something about your ugly toes. And then his other argument was, you know, the internet is a bad place and you opened yourself up to it.
Fuck
and
this
like,
misogynist prick right in the fucking neck. It's got to be a man.
It was.
Fuck this guy. What a dickhead.
Well, so I did my due diligence, and the first thing I do is I go scope someone's page out. So I'm like, well, what is this dude? And the problem is I go look at his page. He has nothing about aquariums, no mutual like aquarium related friends. I scrolled through tons of stuff, nothing about aquariums at all. And he, you know, again, I'm not going to claim like I'm woke or I'm any of this or that, but he had 2 posts about where he was railing about guys that wear dresses. And he was just railing, saying that's what's wrong with the world and this or that. I don't see it that way. I don't see the world that way. And I don't know why that bothered him so bad. Besides, every time I see someone do something like that, I think maybe they want to wear a dress and it bothers them about themselves. Because I don't understand why it was such a big deal. But after I saw that thing where he was railing about guys wearing dresses, I was like, oh, this is easy. You're out.
You're out. When I was a kid, I don't like team sportsing. I'm not good with it, right? But if I were to talk about team sportsing the way this guy was talking about toes, I'd be the asshole, right? He would say, well, if you don't like it, just scroll along, just move along. And it's like, well, why don't you just fucking do that for stuff you don't like either? And so, I don't even care what's on his page. Once he starts throwing fucking shade at people for what their toes look like,
yeah,
he can eat a fucking bag of genitals.
Yeah.
And just goodbye. We don't want or need that shit in our lives in the reef beef world. Bullshit.
I mean, I don't want to the reason I was like, ugh, because I don't want to turn into a thing where I'm policing our fucking Facebook page. And I know it will happen. The bigger, all our social media platforms get, there's going to be arguments. And then one person's going to say, oh, can you kick that person off? And that's where I drag my feet because, if y'all are both solidly in the aquarium world and fans and someone else, said some minor things to you, I'm not going to, I don't want to be the fucking police of that. Now, if someone just goes off and they're obviously, misogynistic, rude or whatever like that, it's going to be an easy thing for me. I don't need that shit in my life and I don't need that on the page and I'll cut you in a heartbeat.
We don't need any ad hominem attacks. We got enough shit in the world that really matters than people personally attacking someone for some reef belief. Fuck you. Fuck you. Goodbye. I loved that he said, would the administrator of this page please contact me? Yeah, we'll contact you and fuck off is how we'll contact you.
I mean, I already knew I was going to kick him, but my final straw was when I was absorbing all this and I looked and I read that. That's the last thing I read where he said, can the moderator of the page contact me? And I was like, you know what? Fuck right off.
Absolutely.
Gone.
Good job. Take your misogynistic personal attack bullshit and shove it up your pee hole.
Richard, but then I think maybe I was too grumpy, because then a lady put a mad face on the video that I did, where I was humping at the camera wearing these tights with your face on it.
Yeah.
And she made a mad face, and then she wrote on there, "Who is this creepy guy?" And I kicked her. I banned her too. I banned her too, but I was like, oh, because I was in a bad mood. And I posted about that on Facebook, and one of my friends said, you know, where's the lie? And I was like, I get it. I get it.
So did you unban her?
No, because I looked at her page too, and she has nothing on there at all about aquariums. And that's what I'm saying. We might be starting to get big enough to where we're starting to bump into general population that has nothing to do with aquariums.
Yeah, I don't give a fuck.
And if they think I'm here, they make fun of Tammy's toes, they can just fuck off.
Oh, what a when I was reading his post, I was just like, this guy, there's nothing to talk about with this guy. If he's going to come out with your toes are ugly, and if you put them on the internet, you should expect people to tell you that, he's dead to me. There's no reason to talk to him ever.
His two arguments, and I don't know if you tell me, I don't know if this is considered hyperbolic, but it did occur to me in my head that it's not this at this level, but it's in the same vein of, you hear someone said, oh, well, that girl got raped because she was wearing this. And it's like, no, you don't rape someone because they're wearing something or look a certain way. And no, you don't make fun of someone's toes because, and I love that argument that, you know, the internet's a bad place. Well, dude, you're a bad part of it, and I'm not going to deal with that on my platform. So
yeah, exactly. You're a bad person.
Later.
If it's not for you, shut the fuck up and scroll on. Who the fuck are you that anyone should give a shit that you think something negative? Why would you yuck somebody else's yum? Right? Fuck you. You think you got an anti-toe thing? Just shut the fuck up. It's only going to be up for a couple days. Ugh.
Honestly, it's like a grown-ass man acting like a child, and I'm not going to do that.
Some fucking douche canoe, fuck him. I have no, after reading his post, it's like I have no fucking compassion for that person at all. It's just the wrong everything.
That is our show, Richard.
1,500 subs, my friend.
I know, it's impressive. Actually, it's weird. It went from 1,500 to what was it? 1,510, like real in seconds. So I keep waiting to where we get to this, like a snowball effect, where it goes from 1,500 to like 3,000.
That would be great. So
or whatever. I don't really care. I'm stoked beefers, because our beefers, especially again, to hit the Discord again, going to Discord, it's crazy, man, because you may look at our numbers and say, oh, this Reef Beef, they only have 1,500 subscribers. I think we interact with quite a few of them.
It's pretty great. It's pretty great, and we appreciate it. It helps. We need to figure out what's going on at 2,000, or what is our. Don't say anything now. Last time I said it, you just say random shit and then we don't remember what it is. And we want to hear from the beefers too. What should we do at how many subs? What makes sense for the next push? So let us know what you'd like us to do, and we'll figure out a way to do it and at what subs. So yeah, so awesome, man. Congratulations, Ben. It's pretty fun, and it's pretty fun working out how we're going to keep moving forward and what our different roles are back of scenes.
Yeah.
So it's pretty great. It's pretty great, Ben. I like talking with you.
Awesome. Even though I'm frustrating sometimes.
Well, yeah, as soon as we get your fucking internet figured out, everything will be fucking turkey and what goes with turkey. I don't even know.
You'll have to find something else to bitch at me for.
Turkey. I don't want to bitch at anybody. I'd rather bitch about this asshole who you kicked off. So this episode sponsored by saltwateraquarium.com, powered by PolypLab, and binged by Beefers. We'll see you on the flippity flop. This episode was hosted by Rich Ross and Ben Johnson, produced by Ben Johnson and Snowman, edited and directed by Snowman. We'd like to thank our Gold and Prime level beavers, Pedro, Rich P, Scott C, and Scott O.
Let me put my underwear back on.
No, you idiot. You're so dumb. I love you, you fucking dumbass.
I'm like your dumb cousin twice removed.
No, you're just like, you're some dumb guy wearing his own face. What are you doing?
I'm trying to look at my thigh.
What does this got to do with saltwateraquarium.com? What are you
We're
doing?
done with it.
Oh, we're done with that?
Look where Richard is.
That's great, Ben.
I'm a 47-year-old man.
Are you?
Got it. That's not creepy at all. Dude, look at this. Here, we can just do this for some of this for this footage later. Snowman told me to put the underpants on.
You look good with the underpants on. Twerk for us. It's amazing. You'll do anything. It's great.
It is. And look,
Wait.
You're on my crotch.
Yeah, I am.
Okay. Let's see. There's anything. Shitty behavior. Shitty behavior. Okay.
Boom, ba-doo-doo-doo, boom, ba-doo, boom, boom. I think the best thing you could do with Polytho is like take one and slide it under your eye. That's probably, or put it in your mouth like it's chaw.
Or put it in your urethra.
Urethra. Don't do any of that. Polytho is toxic. Don't touch them. Don't even have them in your tank. Why are you doing that? Okay.
Do you like how I said urethra? Because I was going to say pee hole, but I was like, you know what? Everyone has a urethra.
Oh, you are anti-misogynist.
Yes.
I think
want
you're
to
right.
be-
I'm not going to, well, you could say pee hole. Everyone has a pee hole.
True. That's true.
It's the same.
There
You're
might be some
making
people.
me feel misogynist for saying pee hole, and it's not. Everyone has a pee hole.
Anytime that I can get a social leg up on you, I'm going for it.
Yeah, good job. You are the winner.
So after you're done dying of COVID there,